Thank you. Okay, welcome everybody. So we are here today for the Town of Rocky Mountain House Governance and Priorities Committee meeting for October 8th, 2024. And I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. So adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda that we see before us this afternoon? Councillor Chappelle.
I also move the agenda as presented.
Thank you for your motion. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. Those in favor? And none opposed, that is carried. So we have a delegation here with us this afternoon. We have Aidan Townsend from Roth's IAMS. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Thank you for being here with us this afternoon. Oh, there we go. It's a little bit better. Oh.
Can you hear us?
We have your audio through one small speaker. I'm just trying to get it to the whole room, if you could bear with me.
Okay, sure.
Could we try that if you could speak there for a moment?
Am I working? Hello?
Sounds okay. Yeah,
Yep, can you hear me out?
you betcha. Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for being here today. So you are going to talk with us about our building assessments that you guys had done.
I am, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Well, you take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay, perfect. So I guess, hi, I'll do a brief introduction. My name is Aidan Townsend. I'm the practice lead for data management service here at Roth IAMS. So, I guess I'm just going to share my screen with you. If it will let me present in Teams.
The share button should be on the top right.
It is. Present.
There you go.
Perfect. So hopefully you can see my screen there.
You betcha.
So yes, thank you for having me here today. We're going to present for you a summary of our findings. So Roth IAMS was retained by the town of Rocky Mountain House to conduct building condition assessments. We did 18 buildings between May 7th to May 24th. Spanning, multiple buildings with an estimated total of approximately $121 million. An analysis of these assets showed that the deferred capital renewal needs over a 10-year period is just over $23 million. And then for some longer term forecasting, 20-year period is, again, just under 47 million. And your 30-year cumulative total is just over $65 million. So this is further detailed as we break it down through some other slides as we go. So the first thing we're going to talk about is FCI, or Facility Condition Index. So Facility Condition Index is an industry standard benchmark used to compare the overall condition of buildings across a portfolio. It's displayed as a percentage, so it takes the specified facilities needs over a specific time horizon. In your case, we're using a 5-year FCI. And then we divide that by the replacement value of the building itself. So in this case, that 5-year FCI period includes any value to 2025. In this case, we're using 2025 as your starting year, because I assume that your 2024 budget is already allocated and possibly spent. So we use 2025 as your current year. And then it would be 4 additional years in the future. So in this case, 26, 27, 28, and 29. Oh, sorry, I'm just going back there for a sec. So as we look at the different ratings and get that percentage, we would see that anything less than 5% typically is relatively new buildings. They're functioning fully as intended, little to no deterioration, nothing major that needs to be addressed. When we get between that 6 and 10%, again, buildings are functioning as intended. We start to see some normal wear and tear, normal deterioration here on buildings. Between 11 and 30%, again, we still have buildings functioning as intended, but more than just normal wear and tear, we're starting to see maintenance items that are required to keep the building functioning adequately. And then as we move up in the next category, between the 31 and 60%, at this point we're getting buildings that are not functioning as intended. Lots of deterioration and maintenance required to just restore the building to its full functioning capability. And then over 60%, again, buildings are not functioning as intended. Significant restoration needs to happen. And at this point, it's generally a decision of whether it's worth investing in that building to keep it operational or, consider divesting of the building. I will just say, for reference, at this point, for the portfolio of buildings that we did the analysis on, your FCI is at 4.69%. So right now, across the portfolio, the average, you're actually in good condition. So as we move into the detail here, we can see a detail by asset of the breakdown of your FCI. So in this case, the Public Works building, Quonset, is the building with the highest FCI percentage. So again, recognizing that the FCI is the replacement value of the building divided by those renewal needs. So when we talk about replacement value here, it's important to note that the replacement value is the greenfield cost to build the asset to its original specifications. So it doesn't include any updates, modernization, modern construction, energy efficiency savings, or any of those types of newer construction that we might see. Replacement value is also different than market value, right? So market value would then indicate a potential price that this asset could sell for in the current market. So things like location, demand, and other market conditions would affect that factor. So market value and replacement value are very different things to consider as we look at these. So again, here we can see a breakdown by asset of the replacement value of the buildings and then the renewal needs, with the total overall replacement value being just over 121 million, and the 5-year renewal needs being about 5.7, just under 5.7 million. So on this slide, we are detailing again that total 10-year deferred maintenance amount. So you can see as you go across through the years, that cumulative deferred maintenance amount increases. And we've got a few scenarios here for you just relative to spending. So starting with the green line at the bottom, if you were to allocate $250,000 a year to address deferred capital renewal maintenance across the buildings, That would be the little green wedge at the bottom, so you can see how much of that total liability gets addressed. The next scenario is $500,000 a year, and then we have a $1 million scenario, as well as a $2 million scenario. So I will note here that you'll see in 2030 there's a significant increase in the amount of liability on the graph. And what happens here is, as we did the assessments, there are a number of systems that, because we did not do intrusive testing, it's a visual test, right? So we're not cutting into walls and ceilings and roofing to do, deeper investigations. Those systems that are beyond their expected useful life based on, industry standard lifetime life cycles, if we can't see them but they're still functioning as they are intended, we would push that renewal for that particular element out to year 6 of an assessment cycle. And the reason we do that is we recommend that buildings be reassessed on a 5-year cycle. So what happens is, at that 5-year time, we would come back and reassess to see if, in fact, that hidden system is still functioning adequately. Sometimes, with piping that's behind a wall, there might be a pinhole leak that develops. So in that 5-year time span, that element might go from an excellent condition or a good condition to a poor condition because it's developing a leak. So that spike is what is in there. So you'll see that if we look at the $2 million a year funding scenario, at one point, you're spending more than your deferral needs, but it does eventually catch up as we look at it over an annualized basis. And then we look at FCI. So again, using the replacement value of the buildings, as well as the total deferred capital and renewal maintenance. So this again is across the entire portfolio. We see that your current FCI is 4.69%. And then if there's no funding spent on the deferred capital and renewal maintenance, over the course of the 10-year evaluation period, you'll end up in just over the 30% mark. So using those other funding scenarios that we talked about with the unfunded liability side, $250,000 a year at the end of 10 years gets you to 28%. The $500,000 a year gets you to 26%. $1 million a year gets you to 22.95%. And then that $2 million a year, you would end up at 15.5%. So one of the things we don't show on the graph here, but we've done the calculation, is if you wanted to maintain that FCI of 4.69% that you have currently, the annual funding would be $2.48 million a year over the course of the 10 years to maintain your current FCI. So here we have a breakdown by Uniformat. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Uniformat, it is ASTM standard for categorizing components of a building. So we look at Uniformat A, which is your substructure, so foundations, slab on grade, any substructure that you might have. In this case, it accounts for just over 0.5% of the total deferred maintenance over the 10 years. And then shell is all your windows, doors, roofing, walls, etc. that make up that percentage. Interiors being interior walls, interior finishes for floors, walls, and ceilings. And then Uniformat D, we tend to break it out a little bit more because D is all of your mechanical and electrical systems. So in your case, mechanical includes all your plumbing and HVAC, and then electrical obviously is all of your electrical. And within the data that we had, there was also some equipment and furnishings, and then some special construction in there as well for other unique things, as well as some site work, very minimally in there as well in your data set. And then here we have a breakdown by region, so, or I guess by categorization we would call it. So Public Works accounts for 16% of the total deferred capital and renewal maintenance over that 10-year period. Recreation and community centers is 66%, and then other is 18%, again, for that total of just over $23 million. So as we look here, what we're showing is the top 10 assets by asset cost. They are sorted by ascending FCI percentage. So you'll see here that Post House has the highest FCI percentage across the portfolio, followed then by medical building, office buildings, and shops. So one thing to note here as we look at the data, if you look at the Credit Union Co-op Aquatic Center, the total dollar value of needs over that 5-year period is $1.4 million, compared to Post House that has $274,000 worth of need. The reason Post House has a higher FCI, again, if we look at the replacement value, the value of that building is just over $1.5 million, as opposed to almost $19 million for the Aquatic Center. So this is why FCI is a really good comparator when you're looking at buildings across a portfolio, because size of the building is factored in and incorporated into the analysis of the numbers. So as we look at the next graph, this then takes the top 10 buildings by FCI percentage. So again, the numbers look a little bit different. So Public Works building, again, has the highest percentage. Airport House, and again, we see, Post House having $275,000 worth of deferred capital renewal needs compared to the $84,000 for Airport House, but Airport House having the higher FCI. And then as we continue on through our analysis, here we have those 10-year renewal needs broken out by priority. So you can see, again, that larger spike in 2030 are lower priority items, because those are, again, things that we would assume that in a 5-year assessment cycle, we would be coming back to look at those again someone would be coming back to look at them again in 2029 to, assess whether those elements are still functioning as intended. And then here we have 10-year renewal needs, looking at it by type, so that we can see in the current year and the current year being 2025 and 2026, there's some repair items that need to happen. At the extreme right-hand side, you'll see that there are some studies, again, that have been recommended. And then through the years, you've got the dollar values for the actual life cycle replacements. Again, with 2030 being that larger spike. So all of this to say, Rotham's is not suggesting that Town of Rocky Mountain House spend $65 million over the next 30 years to maintain their buildings. Instead, really what should happen is that a long-term strategic asset management plan needs to be developed, which can then be used as a guide on how to invest in or divest of assets over the next 20 to 30 years. As we look at that, we need to look at, beyond the capital rehabilitation, when we consider that longer term. Your strategic asset management plan is, documented information that contains and aligns all of your asset management policies, objectives, strategies, and approaches for developing and managing your asset portfolio. So the primary objective of asset management in this case is the realization of value and the achievement of your organizational objectives. So again, as we move through here, the data collection and the development of a risk matrix or a priority matrix are very important steps that can help inform the creation of a capital renewal plan that looks at business decisions as well as the condition-based criteria from the data that we've collected. So again, as we look at recommendations, developing that risk matrix priority, as well as an asset management plan or capital renewal plan to address those needs over the next 5 to 10 years. As we look at buildings with the highest FCI, in your case, you have some that are around 20%. So we look at potentially divesting of those assets, which again would reduce overall maintenance costs, help improve the overall asset portfolio, and streamlining some of those operations help free up financial and physical resources for other areas. So considerations under the language of divesting could include the sale of the property, development of newly acquired lands, regeneration of existing properties, other creative redevelopment of lands as well. So divesting doesn't necessarily just mean, demolishing a building. I will say that, Rothams has worked with other municipalities facing similar challenges, and many are looking at also divesting of assets that no longer efficiently serve their original purpose. So with that said, I guess we could open it up to questions.
Okay, great.
That's how we're going.
Sure, yeah, thank you so much for that. Councillor Phillips.
Yes, thank you. So I do have one question on page 4. The next new building, it shows a replacement value of 242,000 and a 5-year FCI of 0. So I just maybe explain that one. I know that's an older building, so.
Sure, yeah, this is just a breakdown by building of the FCI for each of those buildings.
So if I was to read this, then I would say that the next new building needs no dollars put into it for the next 5 years?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you very well there.
So if I'm reading this correctly, does this mean that the next new building requires no dollars invested in the next 5 years?
In this case, I think there was not data in the data set that we had for that building, actually, which is why it's showing up as 0.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you so much for your time today and for this report.
You're welcome.
Gives us
No
a
other
lot.
question?
No, it doesn't look like it. I think we're good. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
This is a very technical report. I apologize. Try and make it as understandable as possible.
No, it was good. Thank you so much. It gives us a lot of information that we were looking for, so no, much appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
You have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So moving on in the agenda. Okay, we have the adoption of previous minutes. So did the minutes look okay to everybody from the last GPC meeting? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Hutchinson?
I'll make the motion to adopt the GPC meeting minutes of September 10th, 2024.
Thank you for your motion. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. Those in favor? And unopposed, that is carried. So moving on, we have delegation business. Does anybody have any comments on what we were just presented with? Councillor Phillips?
Yeah, just a question of Mr. Kraus. So in our 10-year capital plan, have we addressed any of the issues that we found in this report?
No. It's the short answer. So we just received this report too. So administration needs to sit down and analyze it. And I know we did have a budget meeting yesterday, and that is a discussion for what we have to put in. This is only one portion of our asset management, right? We have roads, water, sewer lines, playgrounds and all that. So we have to actually try to combine all of this. I know our transportation study just came in this week too, and utility master plan, and offsite levy is coming in this week too. So we'll be bringing forward a lot of plans to council over the next couple of months, and to let us analyze it and combine for council's consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Chappelt.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I found his presentation difficult to understand. So I'm hoping that the next terms that we get from administration are more in layman terms, easier to understand. I look forward to spending some time, if we get the report, to have a look and see if I can get better comprehension of what they're trying to do. So I just have a comment, just that it's a difficult report to understand, so.
Do we have any other questions or discussion on this item? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Phillips.
I will make a motion to accept the delegation from Roth IAMS as information.
Thank you for your motion. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. Those in favor? And none opposed, that is carried. So moving on to old business, we have the town flag policy. Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. So at the previous GPC meeting, there was a motion of Councillor Musker to bring forward some amendments to the current flag policy, which administration has tried to capture. So if you go to the draft policy, there is a few insertions that we think meets the desire of council. So under section 2A, we've added subsection 3. So requests for flags of organization shall be considered by council at a regular council meeting. It is council's sole discretion if a request will be approved or denied, and council will decide on the duration of the flag being flown. Then we added subsection 4. If a flag of an organization is approved by council, it shall be placed on a flagpole that is after the order of precedence of the town flag for the duration approved. So that means the town's flag always stays up. Then in so B2, the next one we've added is the town of Rocky Mountain House flag will be flown at all properties and facilities owned and operated by the town of Rocky Mountain House where there are sufficient flag poles to do so. It is not to be removed from display except to make room for the flag of a higher order of government. So those are the amendments that I think council desired, so hopefully we captured them.
Thank you for that, Mr. Kraus. Does anybody have any discussion? Oh, Councillor Chappelle, go ahead.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I want to talk about the duration of how long a flag can be up there. In this case, you have it as the discretion of council, and I'm just wondering if we should not tie that up and put a 1 week maximum on there. I think if a group comes in here and they say, we want our flag up there for a month, and we say, well, no, you can only have it for a week, that's a negative. If we have a policy in place that's got a duration of time being a week or maximum of 2 weeks, then we'll make more for a positive contact with who the request comes from. So leaving it open, I don't think is what we should do. We should put a period at the end of a specific period of time. I'm suggesting 1 week.
Thank you for that. Do we have any? Oh, Councillor Musker. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm very happy with these suggestions. It captures exactly what I was requesting in the resolution. But to speak to Councillor Chappelle, I'm wondering if that could be part of a conversation regarding a courtesy flag placement, which is something we're going to be discussing at service level, because that would be the place where a flag from an organization or a movement or a cause is flown, and then we could have the time duration as part of that policy. I would prefer that a courtesy flag policy be separate from this. This just kind of keeps it nice and tight and ties up any loose ends, and then the courtesy flag could be, that your timing could be part of a courtesy flag discussion. What do you think?
Councillor Chappelle.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'd be okay with that. Just if we have a flag policy in place, it'd be nice when you talk about tying it all up, is to have all the tentacles of the flag policy under one policy versus a couple policies. So I guess where I'd come to disagreement is the more documents that are out there regarding one specific topic, the more confusing it can get. So I'm thinking in this case that we would tie it into this policy so that we have one flag policy, period. I don't know. Mr. Kraus, what's your suggestion in terms of having more than one policy when it comes to flags?
To Acting Mayor, to Councillor Shippold, I agree, Councillor Shippold, it'd be better to have one comprehensive policy. That way, even the member of the public can find it in one spot. It's just ease. But that is a discussion at service level on courtesy flag policy also. And also in the service level, what really also ties into this is proclamations. I would suggest to council that council postpone this policy to the November, subject to discussions at service level.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Councillor Musker.
Yes, I think that's good recommendation.
Councillor Hutchinson.
Thank you. How long has flying organizational flags been happening? And I know we don't get that many requests. I don't know if there's a lot of other municipalities that do it, and is it even, is that a question that could go to all the council? Is it necessary? Do we even feel the need to have special flags flown?
Go ahead, Councillor Musker.
Thank you. I would love to have that conversation, and I hope at service level we do talk about that a little more in depth.
Thank you. Councillor Phillips.
I think it's definitely a discussion we have to have whether we do or don't. I mean, currently we do, so if we plan on going down that road, then we have to have a policy that obviously reflects that. So I look forward to the discussion on courtesy flags at service level.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have any further discussion on this? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion, please. Councillor Phillips.
I will make a motion that we table the flag flying protocol policy to the November 5th council meeting, or do you want to do a GPC meeting? So the November 12th GPC meeting.
Thank you for your motion. Do we have any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. Those in favor? And none opposed. That is carried. Okay, so we have no new business for today. We have no correspondence for action. We have one item under correspondence for info. Does anybody wish to speak to that at all, or otherwise I'm looking for a motion to accept for information? Councillor Auld?
I'll make the motion to accept correspondence for information 9.1 as information.
Okay, thank you for your motion. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. Those in favor? And none opposed. That is carried. So now we are at activity and committee reports for mayor and council. So 10.1, the acting mayor report. Sorry, just pulling it up here. Okay, so we attended the AB Munis this year, which is a good conference for sure. We always learn a lot of stuff. I think probably my biggest take from that, I'm just trying to find my notes on it. I went to one of the breakout sessions that talked about, if I can just find what the name of it was, communicating in times of trouble. And so the mayor of Jasper was there and he was speaking. And it was actually really touching with everything that they have gone through with the fires this year. But I thought it was kind of cool. He had like a secret that he wanted to share with the people in the room. And so what he was saying in his presentation was just communication. When you have something going on like that, how important it is to send out communication to your residents, keep everyone in the know with what's happening. But one thing they had noticed was that in the mornings, so they had a Facebook page, I believe is what it was, and in the mornings where residents were posting, the morning was always positive things that people were posting. By the end of the day, there was a lot more negative. And so the way that their communications team had counteracted that was when they needed to share their updates, the harder things to share in the morning when people seemed to be in higher spirits, and then end the day with positive affirmations and just positive information. And it seemed to go well with the residents. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was a really good conference. They had a lot of, not a lot, but they had some improv stuff throughout the conference, which I thought was actually really fun, and it was a good way to break the ice for a lot of people. But if anyone has any questions on my report, please feel free to share. Councillor Alt. Oh, so otherwise, I am looking for a motion to accept for information, please. Councillor Chappelle.
I also make that motion that we accept the acting mayor's report as information.
Thank you for your motion. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. Those in favor and none opposed, that is carried. Okay, so 10.2. Councillor Auld, did you have anything you'd like to share from your report?
No, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Hutchinson, anything you'd like to share?
I'm sure I can find something. Where am I at? Oh, Rocky Learning Council. So there's been some changes to Rocky Learning Council. The executive director has moved on to a new position, and her dream position at the county, which she's very happy at. So what we've done is we've decided to go with 2 co-directors. Stetler does that same kind of idea, I believe it is as well. And we thought, you know, well, they both bring something very positive to the table. So far, they've been working well together, so we're going to try that for a couple months to see how it turns out. They had, I put the numbers in there, 125 learning in the community learning program, 169 at the Rocky Learning Centre and Campus Alberta Central learners, 1,235 volunteer hours. They've transitioned from the GED program, which is no longer available in Canada, to the CAKE testing centre, which is, I'd be guessing what that acronym is, I can't remember. Community events, we've had some discussion on what we're planning on doing for the next 24-25 year. We'll be doing something around in December, Family Day, Canada Day, and Alberta Day again for next year. So just to have an idea of where that group's growing, and we may pick up little things in between, just depending, but we thought those were the times. Family Day was an important one because February is usually a pretty low month for a lot of people, so we thought have something positive for the community. Took my final EOEP course along with Councillor Phillips. We were on stage and got an award, and the convention was, I would say my highlight was the first night where our leadership team got presented with the Alberta Municipalities Award. So it was wonderful to have that take place and be a part of that with the staff. And resolution session was really it was very impressive this year on how there was a lot of debate back and forth, but it was always very respectful, you know, a lot of points on both sides. The last resolution that we debated was, I can't think of it now.
Voting for
Oh.
permanent residents?
Yeah, and that was a good hour-long debate, but again, it was all done very, very respectfully, and other than that, the rest is in my report, if anybody has any other questions.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchinson. Councillor Musker, anything you'd like to share from your report?
No, nope.
Okay. Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just September was a very, very, very busy month. Just two little highlights here. The Cape Transportation and Logistics Board has received a grant from the Alberta government to update the existing connection corridors plan. So that will be now going out for an RFP. So that's where the next stage is at that. And the FCSS board, we have approved an additional position at FCSS to deal with the influx of needs that are happening at the office, and that'll be part of the FCSS 2025 budget. And other than that, I've got everything else in my report. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Councillor Chappell, anything? Oh, sorry, Councillor Musker, your light is on. Okay, just wanted to make sure you didn't have a question for Councillor Phillips. Councillor Chappell, anything you'd like to speak on?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Yes, this is my first report back after being gone for a couple of months. So I just want to say thank you to Council for allowing me some time to be away on leave, and to administration for looking after all the needs and reports that I didn't do that they did on my behalf. And so thank you for that. So just a special thank you to all of you for allowing me that time. Being gone for a couple months went by quickly, but maybe not quick enough for me. But anyway, I'm back, hopefully in full living color. So thank you. And this is my first report back. And if anybody has any questions, feel free.
Thank you, Councillor Chappell. So I don't see any questions for you, so I'll go ahead and I will make a motion to accept for information 10.2, the council activity and committee reports for information. Do we have any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. Those in favor? And none opposed, that is carried. And so now moving on to administration reports. Mr. Kraus.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So if council has any questions on any of the reports, which is going through them each one by one.
Okay, I don't see any questions. So looking for a motion, please. Councillor Phillips.
Yes, I will make a motion to accept item 11.1, the department reports for information.
Thank you for your motion. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. Those in favor? And none opposed, that is carried. And then we have our action list under 12.1. Mr. Kraus.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So going down the list, so town flag policy we discussed today, and that's also going to service level. So that's the first two items. The community grant policy, that's what we discussed the next couple of days at the service level. Same with the municipal energy manager position. Same with the landmark, just going down. So this list will drop right off after this
Right.
next couple of days. And then the last one, the energy efficiency grant report. Well, that was part of today's discussion. Council wanted the building assessment first to carry on, so we'll bring back a report for council on that.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have any questions for Mr. Kraus this afternoon on this? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion, please, to accept for info. Councillor Musker.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to accept the action list for October the 8th, 2024 for information.
Thank you for your motion. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. Those in favor? And none opposed, that is carried. And then do we have any notices of motion this afternoon? Okay, and we have no closed session this afternoon either, so I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 1:46.